What's up, everybody? John Hoover, AllSooners, along with Ryan Chapman, Randall Sweet. We've just left the Brent Venables press conference. Last one of the year, guys. TCU coming up this Friday. One more game. It's Black Friday, by the way.
Sooners, one more regularly scheduled
One
game.
more regularly scheduled game. That's right. Yeah, there are permutations in the Big 12 Championship that we'll get to here in a minute. You're going to want to stick around for that. But the Frogs come to Norman on Friday, 11 a.m. kickoff. What time?
11
a.m., of course.
It's the only thing, Central Time. That's the only thing we have to worry about this year.
That's right.
It's 11 Central, 12 Eastern, 10 Mountain.
TCU's not had a what you would call a great season. They're currently 5-6. They need a win to get bowl eligible, so this is going to be huge to them. 3-5 in conference play. They're coming off an appearance, guys. The Big 12's first college football playoff victory. An appearance in the national championship game. Didn't go well for them, but that's the TCU program that they're facing. They've obviously done a little rebuilding, but the news today out of the press conference. How about this? Brent Venables got a question about Dillon Gabriel, got a question about, I guess, Jalil Farouk as well. He said both guys are, I'll just give you the quote. He says, Dillon and Jalil feel like both these guys continue to progress throughout the week. If they continue to progress, they'll be available this weekend. He's optimistic that both guys are going to play this week against TCU.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially considering he was initially optimistic about Dillon Gabriel in the postgame Saturday, but he had also said hadn't talked to anyone since halftime.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because on the radio it was reported head-related injuries, what was keeping Dillon Gabriel back. Obviously, if it were a concussion, if you were in the concussion protocol, Dillon Gabriel entered that against this very TCU team a year ago, was not able to clear it by OU Texas. So Dillon Gabriel's the expectation, but John, he also talked about Jackson Arnold, a true freshman, just in case, a guy that needs to be on the ready. Brent Venables praised his consistency, his work ethic throughout the week, and he also said, based off, this is not changing anything, how Oklahoma, Jeff Levy structures their practices. The ones and the twos, they split reps pretty evenly. So Dillon Gabriel, Jackson Arnold, that should be something that both those guys are prepared. Brent Venables also said it's not like these are two drastically different game plans. They've got similar skill sets as far as what they can do throwing the ball or running in the QB run game. A little bit more QB run game with Jackson Arnold, but it should be the same game plan whether it's Gabriel or Arnold. So if that optimism holds, Dillon Gabriel, boom goes the dynamite. He'll have his great senior day. If not, Jackson Arnold should be, through the normal flow of practice, prepared for whatever role he may have to play on Friday here in Norman.
Yeah, and it could be a big role because the offense might have to do some scoring because the defense, wow, we saw them give up some yards, especially in the run game. The run defense at BYU was struggling, Randall.
Yeah, I mean, as I think everyone's mentioned by this point, BYU, one of the worst rushing offenses in the Big 12 in the country in general, ran all over OU. I think they averaged something like 7 or 8 yards a carry against the Sooners. And Brent Venables talked about that today at his press conference, said that while the defensive line took a lot of the was a big part of the OU defense not being able to defend the run against Kansas, that wasn't necessarily the issue this weekend. He said that the issue this weekend in Provo was the linebackers not getting their fits, and I think that he included the entire group in that discussion. Kind of talked about those guys not being in the right place, but he also mentioned that is more relieving to him, which was interesting, just saying that he thinks that that's easier to fix than, guys just getting dominated and things like that. But again, not on the defensive line, more on the linebackers not being in the right place, missing their fits, according to Brent Venables at least.
Yeah, TCU, I'm guessing that TCU will come out and say, look at this scheme that BYU ran. Let's run exactly that. They're going to try and find those gaps. They're going to try and get the OU linebackers out of the run fits. And you know what? If they don't, they've got a quarterback who can absolutely sling the football. Not John Hoover, Josh Hoover can bring the football when he throws it. He's a good passer.
Yeah, he's a guy that Brent Venables talked about, really dynamic arm, big arm, has had a couple of games this season since he took over. I believe it was BYU, actually, that was his coming out party when the Horned Frogs faced the Cougars in Fort Worth. So he's a couple 400-yard games to his name. TCU's moved the football with Josh Hoover. That's not really been the issue. It's just kind of been, can Josh Hoover find a way to limit those turnovers? Brent Venables didn't talk about that specifically, but editorializing, that is the issue. So an opportunistic OU secondary, but they're going to have to be in the right spot, guys, for that to happen. And so Brent Venables talked about the cornerback position opposite of Woody Washington. He was asked about that Gentry Williams practiced yesterday, Sunday that is. He said that Brent Venables thought Kenai Walker played well against BYU, so that's going to be a position that has to be under fire. And he also talked about the pass rush or lack of pass rush. So much of that, he said, has been down to not being able to stop the run, so you're not into 3rd and long to pin your ears back. He talked about teams getting the ball out really quickly, which is more of a respect to the scheme of what Oklahoma does. Doesn't think that all that stuff's going to suddenly be wiped away, so Oklahoma's going to have to make do and get some pressure on Josh Hoover, who's going to be getting that ball out quick. Otherwise, could be another big-time passing day from the Horned Frogs' really, really young quarterback.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's a shootout, a high-scoring back-and-forth game, or if points are at a premium. Oklahoma's going to need points at some point from their kicker. And Randall, the kicker, got brought up today. Zach Schmidt missed again. A 28-yarder from the right hash, kicked it wide left. I'm not sure how that's accomplishable, but he did it. Brent Venables kind of surprised us a little bit today, explained a few things that's going on in practice.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really heard Brent Venables open up about the kicking situation this year. Schmidt's kind of struggled in clutch situations since last year, so that's not really anything new. Obviously missed a huge kick against Texas that didn't end up mattering, kind of got swept under the rug at the time because OU was able to come away with that victory. But against Kansas, against Oklahoma State, against BYU, when he's missing field goals in these clutch situations, it's a lot more noticeable. And Brent Venables, like you said, he talked about it today. He said in practice, Zach Schmidt is the best kicker. He said in practice he's consistently making those field goals, which is interesting. I mean, because that's not necessarily what's happening in the games. We've seen that. He also added that Gavin Marshall, who's one of the backup kickers on the team, has been battling some injuries for most of the season, so that's probably kept him from possibly competing for that starting job, maybe even taking over that starting job from Zach Schmidt. The Sooners do have a 3rd kicker, but apparently hasn't been able to beat out Zach Schmidt in practice enough to even get a shot in the game. So from the sounds of it, unless Gavin Marshall's able to return healthy, it sounds like Zach Schmidt's going to be the kicker for the rest of the season.
Hang on in 2023, Ryan. 2024, transfer portal.
Yeah, got to get to the portal. Simply put. Otherwise, if maybe Zach Schmidt hits that field goal in Stillwater, we're not talking about tiebreakers that are out of Oklahoma's hands coming into this weekend for the Sooners on Black Friday.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the tiebreakers real quick. Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. Finally, Kirk's one of those few people in this business, in our industry here, who can get answers from the Big 12 Conference, and he got some answers today, apparently.
Yeah, he said that there are technically 128 permutations of the different tiebreaker systems that could happen based off all of the results that are to occur this weekend. Here is the simplest paths boiled down quickly. Oklahoma is not dead if they lose to TCU. I don't really want to get into it. It is a monster of a this and that and this. We got to get the red yarn and the cork board. So here it is. Texas loses to Texas Tech on Friday night. Then Oklahoma needs Iowa State to beat Kansas State. Bob's your uncle. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State will play. Flip that around. Texas wins Friday night against Texas Tech. Oklahoma State loses to BYU. Other happenings, that is a path as well. Otherwise, if Texas and OSU both win, as they are heavily favored to do, Oklahoma will be looking around the country not for Big 12 possibilities, but maybe a Penn State upset. Florida State or Louisville, if they stub their toe a couple of times, Oklahoma might be able to work their way into a New Year's Six bowl game. That's kind of the quickly you turn over and you tab to something else looking for that. But a lot to play for on Friday and Saturday all across college football this weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if Oklahoma wins, you've won 10 games. That'll feel good about that. Then you watch Texas win. Then you watch Oklahoma State win the next day, and you just hope for the best bowl game you can. Go 10-2. Hope for the best bowl game you can. It's a far cry from 6-7, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got that going for you if you're an Oklahoma fan, I would think. Sooners are favored against TCU by 13.5. That line came out yesterday. It is Monday, by the way. We had to move the Brent Venables press conference up a day because of the Friday kickoff. But that line came out yesterday. Texas favored by 16. OSU favored by 17. So. Yeah.
If Vegas is right,
with 10-2.
Yeah, if Vegas is right, you'll see Texas and Oklahoma State play in the Big 12 championship game, and Oklahoma is just going to be looking for upsets. Arkansas could also help Oklahoma.
Yep, beating Missouri.
A lot of different options to try and backdoor your way into a New Year's Six bowl.
Lots of stuff going on. It's going to be a fun, busy, crazy weekend. We'll be there to cover it for you at allsooners.com. The three of us will be at Friday's game. We'll have the full report for you all week here at All Sooners. So check us out all week, all free, All Sooners. For Ryan, for Randall, I'm John Hoover. See you guys.